Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
With all the stuff in the news lately, I've been asked by quite a few people, Steve, if they wanted to quarantine me against my will, could they? And they, I assume in your question, means the government or the powers that be. And yes, the answer is yes. So it's interesting because, as you might imagine, there are laws on the books regarding this. The blue books behind me, as I often point out, are in fact the Michigan compiled laws or the laws of the state of Michigan. And I'm going to quote an article from the Detroit Free Press first, but then I'm going to talk about the law itself because the law itself is called out in the article in the paper. And the headline of the paper article says, "You can go to jail if you don't follow quarantine orders." And Kristen Jordan Seamus wrote the article. And she said that she's answering this because it's one of the most searched questions right now on the Googleverse. And that is that people are searching and saying, can I be forced to quarantine in theory? In theory. Because as far as I know, it hasn't happened here in Michigan yet. But with the number of cases growing around the U.S. that are in the news, people who are suspected of having things wrong with them have been asked to self-quarantine or isolate themselves at home for at least 14 days to avoid spreading the disease to others. What happens if those people don't follow the advice of health officials? What if they decide to go to a party, go to the mall, do whatever teens do? Oh, it does say or out to dinner, so I suppose that can be an adult. So in Michigan, you should know the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services points out that you could be not just exposing other people to whatever you've got, but you could face fines of $200 and up to 6 months in jail because there are laws on the books about this. The penalty for violation of the code, an order of a local health officer, an order of the department, is a misdemeanor. And she's referring to MCL 333.5203. This is in Michigan, of course. And then, of course, 333.5205. This can include a court order to follow treatment, remain isolated, be committed to a facility, or any other relief that the court finds proper. Now, what we're talking about again is, let's suppose that you came down with an ailment, some sort of ailment that you might be able to give to other people. And so then the question becomes, if an official, the powers that be, approached you and said, we're worried that the ailment you have might be transmittable to other people in such a way that it'd be best if you just kind of isolated yourself for, a little while. Well, it turns out that in Michigan, and again, many states have got laws similar to this. I don't have time to do 50 videos, so I'm going to do Michigan now for you. 5203, upon a determination by a department representative or local health officer that an individual is a carrier and is a health threat to others, the department shall issue a warning notice to the individual requiring that individual to cooperate with the department, and so on and so forth. And it shall be in writing, and a warning notice may be an oral statement, but then writing given 3 days later, and the warning notice shall be individual and specific to one particular person. And then a warning notice issued under this subsection shall include a statement that unless the individual takes the action requested in the warning notice, the department representative or local health officer shall seek an order from the probate court pursuant to this part. So in other words, they'll give you a warning and they'll say, here's what you need to do. You need to do it. And if you don't do it, then they can go to court and ask for a court order to make you do it. And if you defy the order, you can wind up in jail. Now, admittedly, that's a bunch of dominoes have got to fall before you get in trouble. And I've never heard of it happening. But I, as the attorney in this relationship, although there is no attorney-client relationship, there's just an attorney-video relationship, I have to tell you that the law is on the books. So the fact that it's on the books means you should be aware of it and understand it. So what happens is they become aware of the fact that you've got something. What you've got is something other people don't want. And they give you this warning in writing telling you that you need to separate yourself for a little while from society. You choose not to. You therefore run afoul of 333.5205, failure or refusal to comply with warning notice. And that is if a department representative or local health officer knows or has reasonable grounds to believe that an individual has failed or refused to comply with the warning notice issued under the subsection 5203, they may then petition a circuit court for relief. And the relief, although that word sounds nice in this setting, is not things you want to happen to you. Because what happens is the circuit court will then hold a hearing to determine whether or not you violated the order. And if you have, the circuit court can then order you to do things. So previously you got an order from the health department. And the order from the health department said, you should just go and sit this one out. Now you're getting a court order. The court order can order you to go to an education program to understand what you're doing and not doing. They can order you to a counseling program if they think that you really understand but don't want to cooperate for some weird reason. They can order you to a treatment program if they think that might help. They can order you to undergo medically accepted tests to verify your status and see whether or not if you don't think you're subject to this, and for some reason they'll go, well, we'll check that out for you. And order that the individual notify or appear before designated health officials for verification of status testing or other purposes. And order that the individual cease and desist conduct that constitutes a health threat to others, meaning that you can get a court order ordering you to go sit this one out. And order that the individual live part-time or full-time in a supervised setting for the period and under the conditions set by the circuit court. So they can say, not only sit this one out, but we're going to make you sit it out here. Also, in order that the individual be committed to an appropriate facility for the period and under the conditions set by the court. So this is really dangerous. They might say, oh, we're going to put you in a facility. And there's a catch-all. So sub I under 6, which is a subpart of 5205, says any other order considered just by the circuit court. And just in case you're curious, the costs of all this shall be borne by the individual who is subject of the order. So if you caused it all to happen, they're going to make you pay for it. And as pointed out elsewhere, it's considered a misdemeanor to disregard those orders from the health department when they come and hand you an order and say you need to do this. So, in response to the most Googled question recently on the internet, can they force you to quarantine yourself should they think there's a reason to do so? It's going to vary from state to state as to what steps they've got to take and what the penalties might be. But I can tell you that in Michigan, yes, they can. And you can fight it, and you'll wind up in a circuit court arguing with a judge about it. And I suspect that actually might cause some sort of spectacle if they announce that this person wants to come to court and fight the quarantine order because everyone thinks they've got something that no one else wants. Because what's going to happen is as they walk into the court, there's going to be a big thing as the seas part so this person can stand here. And no one wants to be near them as they argue their case. So again, the headline from the Free Press is you can go to jail if you don't follow the quarantine orders. And it appears that is in fact the case. Like I said, the citations in Michigan are MCL 333.5203 at SEC. And I suspect many states have similar things on public health grounds. Questions, comments, put them below. Otherwise, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Your social security number has been canceled. #just messing with ya.